Alright, well, I got the last on this DVD to watch, so let's get started on this, shall we? What the fuck was this?
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save that thou art, High King of heaven, thou art.
Hey, wanna play hide and clap?
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I am here with episode 4 of Halloween Horror Movie 6, and it's yet another rant. And because this is another rant, this is why it'll be a few weeks before I do the 5th one of these. Because after this, I want to do some good films. I don't want to be just bad films this season all the time. But this rant is going to be for the 4th entry of this series, and that is going to be 2006's Scary Movie 4. Which is the last of these to be directed by David Zucker. And you could definitely see why. This was probably the last one they did. Because that's the thing, it's like they clearly ran out of ideas by this point. They didn't know what else they could do anymore. And after this, the Zuckers would go on to do superhero movie, and that was even worse. And this was the last for a while to feature Anna Faris and Regina Hall because they didn't want to come back for the 5th one. But they're going to be back for the next one that's coming out next year, along with the Wayans. And this one they want to parody Sinners, Get Out, Heretic, Long Legs. Nope. Those films. But what's the plot of Scary Movie 4? So this time around, it's now a parody of less scary films. The only 2 scary movies. One of these I don't consider a horror film, but the only 2 scary movies that they literally parody are Saw and The Grudge in this one. So this time around, Cindy Campbell is now parody Sarah Michelle Gellar in this movie, and she gets hired to work at a cursed house as a caretaker of an old lady and meets the Grudge Boy, who's apparently his quest is to pretty much find the father of the Grudge Boy. So meanwhile, the teenage in the War of the Worlds parody Tom Cruise's son, parody Dakota Fanning, who are both obviously known in War of the Worlds 2005 are the children of his next door neighbor and Emperor Tom Ryan, who's parody Tom Cruise, are spending the weekend with their loser father. So, parodied Sarah Michelle Gellar, who's now Cindy, and parody Tom Cruise meet and fall in love for each other. But then War of the Worlds happens, and giant tripods invade Earth. Tom escapes with his 2 children. Cindy goes to the parody of M. Night Shyamalan's first shitty film, The Village, trying to find the answer of a riddle to save the world. And meanwhile, the president of USA, who is only in like 3 scenes of this film, organizes the defense of the planet under his intelligent leadership. And you could cut that subplot out because that subplot goes nowhere. To the point where Leslie Nielsen's character, who's the president, barely plays a role in this movie. So that's my reaction. This one DVD has the quote that calls it the best scary movie yet, which just makes me fucking laugh because no way in hell is this even the best one at all. Like, I don't know what that critic smoked or something watching this movie. As much as I hate Scary Movie 3, even then I guess if I had to pick which one I would have to be forced to watch, I'd say Scary Movie 3 of the two that are post Scary Movie. No, the three that are post Scary Movie 2, right, I forgot about the fifth one. Because this one is even less scary movies this time around. The only scary movies you parody are two scary movies. No, War of the Worlds is not a horror movie. The Village does not count as a horror movie. Those are thrillers. I mean, War of the World 2005 has some scary elements, but that's more of a sci-fi thriller. It doesn't, just because it has some horror element, scary bits in that film doesn't make it a scary movie. A scary movie is supposed to be parodying horror films. The only horror films they even parody are Saw and The Grudge, because you know why? Because this is where the studios just stopped giving a fuck. They now just cared about the money at this rate. They needed more of these sequels. This was supposed to be the so-called last one, but that didn't last long because they made a fifth one, and now we're getting another one next year. This movie felt even more Seltzer Freeberg-like. And the reason this was made because, hey, Scary Movie 3 was so successful, so let's do that same shit again! And we'll make it worse! Yeah, Goofy impression. Impression of Goofy. They're still taking plots of films that are not horror films. Our main plot line, sometimes it doesn't know what it wants to be. Maybe it wants to be a main plot line of The Grudge. Or suddenly decides to become War of the World. Or go to The Village. Like, well, how are any of these horror films? Once again, like Scary Movie 3, you're just parodying whatever the fuck is popular and came out around the time this movie came out. Oh, and the one that pisses me off the most. You literally get, as you saw in the intro, a cameo of the late James Earl Jones, may he rest in peace, getting hit by a bus! Like, so how can this movie piss me off the fuck more? Like, waste James Earl Jones was one of my all-time favorite actors, and let's just waste him in this movie. Let's have him be the parody Morgan Freeman narrator from War of the Worlds, and then come back narrate again, and then end it with him actually making an appearance and parody Final Destination and get hit by a goddamn bus. Now, that is fucking insulting to me anyways, because James Earl Jones was one of my favorite actors of all time. Whether it's his work on Darth Vader, whether it's his voice work on Mufasa, whether it's his role in Coming to America, whether it's his role in The Sandlot. To see one of my favorite who was a guy who was one of my favorite actors of all time, who's now sadly no longer with us, get hit by a bus near the end of this awful parody movie. No. That's not funny. That just made me yell fuck this movie immediately when that happened. So yeah, this was only made because Scary Movie 3 made $200 million worldwide. So, of course, like, how was this film made? Scary Movie 3 made money. And so, obviously, a fourth film was greenlit by Dimension Films, and they brought back Zucker to direct it. Then after the film was shot and advertised, it would premiere at AMC Loew's Lincoln Square in New York on April 10, 2006. Then it got released to the public in the theaters on April 14th, 2006 by Dimension Films. And guess what? This film also got negative reviews, but it still also made money. Didn't make as much as Scary Movie 3. It made over $178 million worldwide on a $40 million budget. This was supposed to be the last one, but that was a lie because they made an even worse fifth film, which I'm going to take weeks to review because that's probably going to be the most furious rant yet. That one was even worse than either this or 3. And that's the one where both sides agree suck. Whether you're on the side where you like the Wayans more, whether you're on the side where you like the Zuckers more, every side agrees that that one is easily the worst of all of them. It's one thing both sides can agree on. So, what are the bad qualities and the story of Scary Movie 4? Like, this one time around, like, this is the reason why this film is worse than Scary Movie 3 is because this one they get lazier. It's like they couldn't come up with what they wanted to parody at this rate. They couldn't decide what the main plot line, what they kind of wanted to do. So this time around, hey, guess what? Remember the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds film that came out literally just a year before this film? And not be that old? Hey, I have a great idea. Let's make that the main plotline and parody War of the Worlds. And we'll just make a parody War of the Worlds that's just boring and unfunny. And make the viewer feel like they just wasted 90 minutes of their life. And the whole comedy of this film, it's people getting hit with objects, like every 4 seconds for the whole entire 80-minute runtime. Like, Scary Movie 4 takes that entire cheap humor. Yeah, that happened in Scary Movie 1 and 2. That happened in the other films, but in Scary Movie 1 and 2, it didn't happen every 4 seconds, and there was actually other bits of humor that wasn't just that. Scary Movie 4, because they ran out of ideas, let's just keep doing that joke. Or we'll just recycle jokes from the other films. Like, you know, they have Cindy get hit with a ball again. You get that? That was one of the jokes from the second film, where she got hit with a football by Buddy. That was from the second movie. Let's repeat it again. Like they're just that lazy with the comedy in this one. Like, the humor's not even just a problem. It's also the monotony. Like, there's sometimes a fart joke. Or hit with a blunt object. Fart joke. Oh, yeah. You have a scene where the Kendall's caretaker in the Grudge house gets her face washed with piss. Or a blunt object hits somebody. More kicked in the balls, a poop joke. Same jokes over and over and over and over the fuck again. And this time around, it's like they don't even know what their target audience even is. Like, Scary Movie 4 is horrible. Like, you could tell they stopped caring. They only cared about the money at this rate. They didn't have any ideas anymore. They didn't care about trying to make a funny movie anymore. The only time, like, they only parody 2 horror films. And they don't just parody War of the Worlds, or don't just parody The Village. They reference films like Brokeback Mountain. They reference films like $1 Million Baby. Oh, they even at one point, beginning scene references that shitty Deuce Bigelow sequel. In one bit. Which was also a shitty movie. Except that, honestly, I think that film was worse than this film. I'll get to that later when I explain the plot. We take some of the more better moments from the other films and just turn into crummy slapstick. Like, I don't know how... Yeah, like, I could see why Anna didn't want to come back for Scary Movie 5, but honestly, I kind of wish she declined to come back for this as well. Because in this one, this film doesn't even feel like it's even about Cindy anymore. It now feels like it's about our parody Tom Cruise. Dude's named Tom Ryan. And they have an overabundance of Saw parodies. And the rest of the film gets no better. So how do we start off? We start off the movie with our first Saw parody. And this time around, the 2 characters from the main characters from the first Saw film. Their parody Leigh Whannell, parody Carrie Ells, are now Dr. Phil and Shaquille O'Neal. Are literally our 2 victims in our first Saw parody that starts off the film. You're parodying the first film, the opening scene of the first Saw movie, where Shaq and Phil wake up to find themselves chained to pipes in a bathroom because it's like they decided one of those ideas because Shaquille was mentioned in the beginning scene of the first film when they were parodying the opening scene of Scream 1. So they decided, let's get him for a Saw parody. Let's do that. And they're chained in a bathroom, and the Saw puppet appears on a screen, tells them that the room is filling with nerve gas, which is a reference to Saw 2. Oh yeah, another thing about these Saw parodies, like, this film was released months after Saw 2 had come out. So Saw 2 was just way too new to really be parodied. Like Saw 2 released October 2005. This movie came out April 2006. Hell, one of the posters was even a parody of the Saw 2 poster, where, it was the two fingers doing that were ripped apart. This time around, they're literally, in that poster, they basically did the four fingers going this, one of them having a Hello Kitty band-aid on it. Like Saw 2 wasn't even that old at the time. Like, just imagine if you had first Saw 2 back in 2005, if you were old enough to see Saw 2 in theaters back then when it had first come out, or if you had not even seen Saw 2, or didn't even know about Saw 2, and then you saw this movie, and you saw the advertising posters, so you probably didn't know what the hell they were referencing, if you didn't. Yeah, that is totally what it would feel like. Right there, so you wouldn't know what they were talking about. Like, Saw 2 wasn't even that old. Saw 1 being parody, I guess they can see happening, but because everyone was familiar with Saw 1 at the time. Saw 2 had just kind of been literally released to the public for like a few months. But they reference both the Saw films in one entire scene. So Shaquille has to shoot this rock basket to obtain two hacksaws. At first it doesn't go well, and at first keeps hitting Dr. Phil numerous times. But then he succeeds the third time, and then of course the hacksaws fall, and of course you get the bit where it's referencing that Carrie Elwes' character remembers that the saws weren't meant for their chains, they were meant for their feet, because Adam broke his saw in the first film. Dr. Phil realizes they have to cut their feet, and so Shaquille gets him into cutting off his foot first. And then Dr. Phil saws off his foot. But of course, guess what? Ha ha ha. He sawed off the one that was free. Like, even a dumb comedy person would actually know where their chained foot was. But then he goes, mother, and collapses. And they both die off screen. And that's how Scary Movie 4 starts. Then we get our first bit of James Earl Jones narrating the opening scene of War, that's parodying War of the Worlds. And then Baby Got Back just randomly starts playing in the sequence as this one female liquid thing walks by. And that wasn't funny either. It's just random and out of nowhere. And then we get to Cindy, who's visiting her brother-in-law, Tom Logan, who was parodied Mel Gibson in Scary Movie 3. This time, this character is now pretty much parodied Bill Pullman, because Bill Pullman's character died in the opening scene of The Grudge. So this is parodying the opening scene of The Grudge. It turns out, well, remember that so-called happy ending in Scary Movie 3? Well, it's retcon now, because guess what? George is dead. And guess what? You remember her nephew in Scary Movie 3? Once he was 11, she basically sent him to military school. And apparently she's even acting like it's a good thing that she did. No! Kids being enrolled in military school is not good. It actually leaves a traumatizing, scarring effect on them. Yeah, it does not improve behavior. It doesn't. It actually leads to negative relationships. It does not improve stuff. That's the thing. That kid wasn't even hers to begin with, because his mom died and she basically kidnapped him anyway. And then when he turned 11, she basically threw him out to military. Cool. Make this character even more and more unsympathetic in these. That's the problem I have with 3 and 4. They make this character more and more unsympathetic to even sympathize with. But then, of course, she's now heartbroken and lonely. So why would she send her nephew to military in the first place then? But then, of course, Tom attempts suicide, and it results in him ingesting Viagra pills. And it gets a massive tree-sized erection. You get the Deuce Bigalow European Gigolo reference when the cat jumps on the erection. He throws it out the window, and then he falls off the railing and dies. Then Cindy goes to take care of the catatonic owner of the Grudge House, Miss Norris. And guess what? The house that's next to the Grudge House is parody Tom Cruise's house, who has basically quits his crane job. And then of course he runs into his two friends at the bar that were basically our wannabe replacement range shorty imposters that were Anderson and Hart's characters from Scary Movie 3. And then right there we get a random reference to Brokeback Mountain with the two camping, which wasn't funny. And when they start saying, "Hello, I can see it in your eyes in your tent," like I was so cringy to watch. Like I wanted to just yell, "Shut the fuck up." And then, of course, parody Tom Cruise goes home and arrives with his parody children. And this time around, our parody daughter this time is often now because guess what? The parody of the kid from The Ring is gone. So we have a new kid to make our new gets frequently hit by objects target gag. It's the parody daughter. One positive I can say is I guess the parody daughter, at least the parody daughter doesn't scream all the time like she did in War of the World 2005. Which I will admit, with War of the World 2005, I do enjoy that film. But I think the one thing I cannot tolerate is the daughter character. The daughter character got on my damn nerves. Like most of the film, all she did was like scream the entire time. Yeah, I know she's a kid, but literally most of her scenes is her constantly freaking out in that movie. Like, I just found that character very annoying. One thing I will admit is that at least this daughter doesn't scream at least this parody doesn't scream the entire film. So why they couldn't just do that with the actual character in the first place? Or no, but and this parody Tom Cruise is honestly even not even that likable of a character either, because the thing is he kind of treats his kids like trash and tries to force his kids to like him. And that's his other thing. The actual, like Tom Cruise's character, War of the Worlds, he was a likable character. He actually cared about his kids. You know? He even risked his life to save them. He actually had some good scenes with his kids. Like, he actually cared about them. That's another positive for that version. So, like, basically, yeah, David Zucker's back, mashing a bunch of random movie spoofs, just reference whatever movie's popular again. Our parody Tom Cruise is now our new main character. Cindy's still in the film, but this time around, she's barely the focus of the film. Doesn't even feel like the film is even about her at all. Either it wants to be about her subplot with The Grudge. Either it wants to be parody Tom Cruise's War of the Worlds subplot. Everything just feels random and scattered without even being funny. Like, yeah, like apparently like how her last love interest died is this spoof of $1 Million Baby. Where apparently what happened was when she lost her cool during a fight, this ram stool placed there when it looked like she was about to be paralyzed. That guy jumped in and he got paralyzed, and then the whole audience just randomly starts paralyzing themselves, and this scene drags on for 6 minutes. With a bunch of fake noses and ears being bit off and thrown into the crowds. And like too much slapstick comedy, like the metal objects falling on people. That's literally this constant joke throughout the entire film. And it gets even more and more unfunny the more it happens. And there's even much more pop culture references and over obsessed cameos in the other films. Like, it's like as if this one around, they didn't care about parodying scary movies. They just didn't. It's like they just wanted whatever was so popular that would attract the people to go see it. It gone further than to parody horror films, and now this time around we had parodies of Brokeback Mountain. We had parodies of $1 Million Baby. We had a reference of Deuce Bigalow 2 that nobody fucking wants because that film sucks too. So why would anyone want a reference to that awful movie? Whoever thought these would be funny clearly couldn't write a funny joke at all. And yeah, like this stuff would like work with stuff like Airplane and Naked Gun, but it just doesn't with these films. It just feels tired. And this time on, yeah, and Brenda is back in this movie, but she doesn't really serve a purpose in this film, really. And the other thing, Leslie Nielsen is back as the president. The late Leslie Nielsen, may he also rest in peace, is back as the president in this one. You remember in the third one when I said he was the only funny part of the third one? Well, this time around, that's not really the case here because he barely even gets a subplot. He barely even gets a role. And the jokes that feature his character aren't even funny either. He got nothing to do in this movie, so it felt like he really wasn't even needed. So why even bring him back then if we're going to give him nothing to do? But then, of course, Cindy then meets Perry Tom Cruise the next day, tells about the backstory how she lost her last love interest. And then they realize that they're in love with each other, and in this scene with that, oh yeah, when they do meet, they literally recycle the ball joke from the second film again. And they repeat it twice, actually. One's a baseball, one's a football, because she actually got hit with a football in the second film. And then, of course, that gets interrupted because then the War of the Worlds parody happens and the tripods show up. At first, it seems like they're playing 80s music, but then they set out to destroy humanity and they vaporize all the residents. Whether you get these rappers getting vaporized, whether you get these fascists getting vaporized, or whether you get this one terrorist this one bomb-strapped terrorist literally being vaporized. And this had come out 5 years after the World Trade Center attacks. Yeah. I wonder what they were trying to parody. I wonder. Well, it's okay. I mean, at least that's not as frequent as, let's say, how it was done in Uwe Postal, which was a lot more insulting. But it's still insulting. So, Cindy then goes back to the Grudge house, so yeah. And there's bits like when the Japanese tenant was showing her the house. Apparently the Grudge girl hair was floating and he was trying to take that down. Oh yeah, the tub was filled with water, he was trying to drain that, and the Grudge boy kept popping up. Oh yeah, and then the Grudge boy at one night comes back, tries to do the Grudge crawl down the stairs, except that was the ghost girl doing that, not the boy. But the boy rolls down the stairs like a dummy. Then she tries to wash a catatonic owner's face with piss, because that's so funny. But then sprays with a hose, because she can't even look what she's doing. And then, of course, then she actually meets the boy who talks, and right there, and learns, and the boy tells that the answer to the invasion is in his father's heart. So then parody Tom Cruise is leaving with his two parody children. Then Cindy then also flees the city as well, sees a destroyed plane, and then finds out Brenda's still alive. Well, it's nice to see Brenda back, I don't know, how, I thought she was buried with her catatonic corpse. So how is she on a plane then in the first place? How would she get out of the ground? But at least she's back, but they don't give her anything to do. And they follow the Grudge Boys' directions. And they end up in the parody The Village. Yeah, and also they bring back Chris Elliott except unlike Chris Elliott, who was actually funny as the caretaker in Scary Movie 2, here he's wasted and they make his parody character unfunny. And honestly just gross and annoying. Either he'll blow snot out of his nose, or whether he'll be all perverted and unstable. So yeah, they end up in the parody The Village. And then they're captured and put on trial. And then during the trial, the parody Bryce Dallas Howard's character takes a shit one of the church seats, and realizes she's not in her house, and that scene goes on for 5 minutes. But Henry allows him to live in the village, but never leave the parody village. And then we get to Leslie Nielsen's character, the president, who's back, who doesn't want to stop reading the story of My Pet Duck, then finds out the duck dies, and you get another 5-minute repeated gag of the children frequently spitting out milk at the president. Whenever he says, Santa's not real, Tooth Fairy's not real, the Easter Bunny's not real, your parents are all divorced, your parents are all dead. This scene drinks on forever! This scene wasn't even funny either. Like I say, yeah, the late Leslie Nielsen in this role, back in this role, who was one of the only funny things about the third one. You think that would be the case with fourth film? That's not even the case with this film either. It's like it feels like they only brought this character back because of that one reason alone. And of course, then he has that meeting about this weapon, and that goes Henri, and it renders his character naked, and then it renders everyone else naked. And yeah, that's what I totally want to see. I totally want to see that. And like before that, when this one person tells him about this weapon, he literally asks that person, "Were you naked as well?" No. Oh, that's good news for me to hear. Like the village spoof was as much as all the spoofs in this one were actually annoying, I'd say the village spoof was the most boring one, because the village spoof is dragged on forever. It dragged on for that's where pretty much Cindy spends the majority of the rest of the film once she leaves the town after the aliens invade. Most of her time then is in the village, so they don't get any scenes with Perry, Tom Cruise. So their romance is forced because they barely spend time together, because either Perry Tom is on the road, and Cindy basically spends majority of the entire film before being captured by the alien tripods in the village. Most of the rest of the film. And like like that the village isn't even really a horror film. To me, that's more of a thriller. And it was also the first bad film M. Night Shyamalan did. Like, that's when his career started to go in the toilets. Because after The Village, he then made, of course, Lady in the Water, The Last Airbender, The Happening. All those suck. The Village was just what started off his bad movie trend. It's very little clever humor. But I don't want to see excruciating scenes of parody Bryce Dallas Howard taking a 5-minute long shit. I don't want to see cringy Saw parodies of Shaquille and Dr. Phil. I don't want to see cringy parodies of The Grudge, or cringy references to Brokeback Mountain or $1 Million Baby. I don't want to see actors I like get wasted in roles, or especially ones that are legendary just show up to be hit by a bus near the end of the film. Like, now the first Scary Movie was not one of the greatest parodies of all time, but there were still some funny moments. Like, you guys know my bad quality with Scary Movie 1. The difference was there was moments where it was funny. It was at least funny at some scenes. The second one, it definitely knew what it wanted to work with. That's the one where they had to go to this haunted house for the night. That definitely knew what it wanted. And, like, that one actually had the best humor. Like, that one had the most clever humor. Like, the problem is that it kind of just got rushed a little early. That was the problem. If it had taken a few more years, like, maybe it could have been better. That was kind of the problem. But then, of course, because that wasn't so successful, they handed it to David Zucker. And it really crumbled to pieces. Scary Movie 3 is where it really started to show. Scary Movie 4 is where they were just kind of parodying their own franchise at this rate. Any cleverness that was left in 1 or 2 became slapstick humor, unfunny, brainless comedy. It feels like they watched way too much America's Funniest Home Videos and decided, yeah, let's make that the plot of this film. It's like they watched that show to death and decided, yeah, that'll be our comedy for Scary Movie 4. And they lack a story arc. It doesn't know what it wants to be about. There's no connection with one another. Like, the characters don't even connect to one another throughout most of the film. And they're not just referencing other films. No. Their ending scene features a literal reference to Tom Cruise's meltdown on Oprah Winfrey. And I'll talk about that later, except how they parody it is a lot cringier and even more insufferable than the actual product was. So when it gets back to parody Tom Cruise's plot, him and his children go through where there's a war between the military and the aliens. Robbie's excited by this and runs away like that happened in War of the Worlds. The tripod then abducts parody Tom and his parody daughter after they stay for a bit with parody Tim Robbins, and that scene doesn't go anywhere. Then it gets back to the village where Henry is killed by the loon of the village. And it turns out he had actually fathered the Grudge Boy, but got killed during Cindy's boxing. And the Grudge Boy apparently died during the $1 Million Baby reference. So Cindy was actually the one who killed him. But then Cindy and Brenda get captured by the War of the Worlds tripod. And they reunite with Perry Tom Cruise, but they get sucked up to tripods. Guess what, people? It goes between the tripod's butt crack. Because that's so funny! But then, of course, they're back in the Saw bathroom and they get another Saw reference. Where this time around, they're parodying the Venus flytrap from Saw 2, a film that when this had come out, Saw 2 was not even that damn old. At the time it came out, that was. At the time this had come out. It is old now. But it turns out, like, Cindy manages to get through the Saw Puppets challenge because he has a fake eye and gets the key out, just like that. But then, of course, the Saw puppet threatens the safety of parody Tom Cruise and his parody children, and they're put in Saw traps. And, of course, we find out the Saw puppet has a brother, and it's another Saw puppet named Zoltar. And looks at the heart toilet from the first Saw film and realizes the puppet was the father of a Japanese boy because it went down on spring break and it had sex. Like, this is so poorly woven together. You could fool anyone to thinking otherwise. Like, right there, like, yeah, the first film did revolve around sexual humor, some puns, and some jokes. It didn't revolve around getting hit with this every 4 seconds, hit with this every 4 seconds, hit the balls with this every 4 seconds. Because apparently that this movie thinks that's so funny on repeats. This is what it's about. Like, this is what it's about. 4 and 2 weren't always about that. And it gets old, and because that humor always gets old. And Scary Movie 4 feels as cheap as it could be. Like, the special effects, the makeup, and the costumes. Like, the Saw puppet prop looks like garbage. The Grudge Boy prop looks like garbage. The whole village looks like garbage. The tripods themselves look fucking awful. They have such awful CGI with the worm stains that just feel like it was so cheap. It just feels like an unfunny knockoff Saturday Night Live. Especially obsessed with putting in way too many cameos, referencing whatever movie is popular even more. They just slapped on Scary Movie for the money so people would go see it. Like, this pretty much killed the series for a few years, and then he made a 5th one, and that just killed the series even more. To the point where now they're finally doing a new one. The Wayans are going to step in. But I don't care. It's dead. Alright? It's done. Naked Gun 2025, I didn't think that was going to be a good movie either, but they got lucky with that film. Because at the very least, Naked Gun stopped at 3 movies and it milked to death. So we get on with the finale of this movie. So, eventually, Tom Cruise's parody kids are like, we forgive you for being an awful dad, and this makes the Saw puppet realize his actions, and he apologizes for killing millions of people, invading the Earth, and releases all the characters. And it turns out Brenda had snuck out of the whole bathroom, had made love to the Saw puppet's brother, and then the 2 Saw puppets are observing them. You didn't catch something? No, don't worry, she said she's a virgin. We're fucked. Yeah, apparently both the Saw puppets can make love. And apparently the Saw puppet, who was just a puppet controlled by John Kramer in the Saw films, is our big bad. And when he sees that the 3 console, okay, I'll stop the invasion. How lazy as fuck are you? So, now we got James Earl Jones narrator back, who find out that Perry Tom Cruise's divorced wife married some older man. They go back home. And then, of course, Brenda gives birth to a baby Saw puppet is now in a relationship with one of the parody village characters. Anderson and Hart return to their Brokeback Mountain tent. Then you get the disrespectful cameo of the late James Earl Jones getting hit by a bus. And then you end with our cringy reenactment of the Oprah Winfrey show where Tom Cruise appeared, where he acts wild. He throws Cindy across the room when he confesses his love for her. Oh, then guess what? When he stood on the couch and arm wrestled Oprah Winfrey, he breaks Oprah's wrists and hits her with a chair. And goes, "Rah!" And the movie ends there. Let's totally end with one of Tom Cruise's cringiest moments on TV, which was embarrassing when it aired, and this is even more embarrassing. When Tom Imposter just runs around like an animal, snaps Oprah's wrist, and runs to the camera. Apparently, they think a great legendary actor that's no longer with us. It would be funny if it ends with him being hit by a bus randomly. Let's have apparently the Saw puppet now having like human emotions, have a Saw puppet brother, able to have children. The Saw puppet is apparently the father of the Grudge Boy, started the War of the Worlds invasion. There you go. Great. Now, do I have any good qualities with the film? So, the only good qualities I can think of, well, I like that at least Brenda's back. But the thing is that they don't do a lot with her character in this one. So it just feels pointless to bring her back, because if you're not going to do a lot with one of the funniest characters of the series, then there's no point in her even coming back in the first place. I guess it's like they only did that because everyone hated she died in the third one. So they decided that they would just bring her back to resolve that whole issue. But it didn't matter, because this film was a lot worse than the third one anyway. And so I think of and while the late Leslie just does try with the role with the material he gets, but they don't do a lot with his character. That's the thing, to the point where even Scary Movie 3 he still played some of a role. This time around he doesn't really play a role. Just there for 3 scenes and just felt like they just put him in the movie for the paycheck. So, other than those, I hate this fucking movie. I don't hate it as much as the 5th one, but it's the worst of the OG 4, no doubt. So in the end, I would also avoid Scary Movie 4, because this is no better than the 3rd one at all, and this is easily Seltzer Freeberg-like, and you can see where people just gave up on the series after this. Anyways, that's it for my rant on Scary Movie 4, and when I rank Scary Movie 4, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you hated Scary Movie 3, you'll hate this one too, because this is definitely one that definitely does not deserve to be called Scary Movie 4 at all, because this does not feel like it's even about scary movies even at this rate. And when I rank Scary Movie 4, I'm going to give Scary Movie 4 a 3 out of 10. Alright people, there we go. That officially wraps up these 4 films. Well, at least these 4 are all done, so I'll just have to put you back with the other comedies behind this curtain. And now I can show you what we get to talk about next, and it's an actually good movie. Ironically, I'll be reviewing the 4th one before these 2, but I'll explain that you guys are going to hear my thoughts on them in the week this series has begun. Yeah. Now we can do an actual horror film. Yeah, that's our next rewatch. And thankfully we can do a good movie after watching 2 bad sequels. For a while, because we're still going to do some other bad films we have to get through. 3 bad sequels, and 2 other worse sequels to a series that also sucked. Until then, that'll be it for this rant and episode. Thank you all for watching, and if you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.